Good morning. I'm wearing my crown this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My crown is the sun. Shine bright like a diamond. How are you all this morning? If you're hopping on, drop a hey in the comments. I woke up this morning early as usual, had my B12, got a different type of coffee this morning, still waking up, drinking my water. I can't eat first thing in the morning, so usually I'll just have a banana. If not, nothing at all. I'll wait for a little bit later on in the morning, and I'll have something else. So drop a hey in the comments. Let me know where you are, what you're up to for the morning, and feel free to do the same thing. Let me know even when I begin this topic. The topic is women who confuse abuse for love, and the women who love themselves that go on to receive what it is they deserve and the best. And yes, unfortunately, there are two types of, let me repeat, girls who refuse to understand and confuse abuse for love, and the women who love themselves, who end up becoming fulfilled and go on to receiving what they deserve. There are two categories. Unfortunately, yes, there are two types of females out there. So, wait for a few more people to hop on. I'm going to give some examples of what women who are conditioned to believe that abuse is love would say. I'm also going to add that these type of girls, I have to keep correcting myself, these type of girls, because they're not fully developed women yet, right? Because a woman, no nonsense. And the sad part is these girls that get into these relationships, they get pockets of hope, pockets of happiness, and I like to call them cheap thrills. They're very cheap. They come easy. They're short. They're sweet. Short-lived. There's no longevity. And that is what is better known as the honeymoon phase, which is a term that's used in the cycle of abuse. And what that means is they're with a partner who belittles them, yells at them, shouts at them, screams at them, tells them, get out, I don't want to be bothered with you, leave me alone. In these type of relationships, it's over. The abusive partner ends it like 30,000 times. It's a repetitive cycle. And then all of a sudden the honeymoon phase comes in, and they're approaching the woman, or the girl rather, that they abused with flowers, tokens of affection, sorries. Sometimes they cry, because if they've done it more than once, then they level up to the next phase of mind control or abuse, which is, I got to add on the tears to make it more believable, because I've already apologized for the same offenses a million times, and a sorry is just not going to cut it. And that's the honeymoon phase, trying to buy their way back in, bargaining their way back in, contracting. It's as messy as it sounds. It's ridiculous, and it's as draining as it sounds. For anybody that has been in a toxic relationship, they can testify to that fact. And also, above all, those that have left that type of relationship and refuse to settle, not only testify that it is a draining, dramatic process with an individual who is not emotionally mature, not only for themselves and lacks self-love, but cannot or does not have the relationships required to have a healthy relationship. So what happens? There's a toxic relationship. And the man that operates in this capacity, because I speak to you women out there, I'm not here to coach, talk with men. That's not my thing. And I also, in my field, I draw boundaries. And those are my decisions and choices. Here's an example. If ever you go in for exams in doctor's office and it's a male doctor that has to do an invasive type exam, he always has a female nurse there. It provides comfort to the patient, and it also protects against any type of slanderous accusations that a male doctor would face while assisting a female patient, such as things like rape or this or that happen. So when it comes to relationships, I do not coach, counsel, communicate with men. So I get these funny comments from men. They're like, oh, what about us? And what about the toxic women? And yes, while that exists as well, or they'll ask me advice, and I literally, you have to find your male counterpart to pull advice from. I tell them always seek out a male coach. I strictly work with women and talk with women because I relate as a woman, and also to avoid conflict of interest, to also remove any type of attraction, or any types of, men seeking advice or wanting to talk just to have an in for, having some type of relationship or date, or it's all drama. Like, I don't got time for that. I'm about my work. I'm about my business. I'm about you women. I'm about empowering myself, loving myself, my own daughter. I don't have time for that. So here's some examples of one of the biggest things I hear, and it's so, honestly, it's really sad, is you ladies out, you young girls out there, I want a man who just doesn't let me get away with anything and puts me in my place, because, yeah, I got to be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And that's the type of man that I want, who can basically take control and tell me what to say and put me in my place and what to think and how to act, and not let me get away with just anything. That's one example of a girl who is looking for and asking for an abusive partner. It also is an example of a girl who does not know her place, her identity, her position in life, and does not have a foundation to be able to say she is free from being unruly, imbalanced, wayward, not able to make up her mind, the inability to make decisions, cannot control her behavior as far as anything goes. So in turn, she's basically saying, I need a man to control that, to just put me in my place. Like, you are either looking for a healthy relationship or you're looking for a daddy. And that's the facts. So there's one example of how a girl who has not fully developed into womanhood, and that can happen at any age, is literally crying out for an abusive partner. And what they do when they advertise that way, or they have that energy about them, they are open game for predators. Like, predators immediately are, this is easy access. This is somebody that I can get away with doing the things that I do. Now, the women out there who are aware of what I've just stated do not operate like that. They do not request something like that. They do not ask for something like that. So immediately, these predators out there, they are wearing masks. They do disguise themselves often, will then turn around and bash that type of woman if they know that they can't get access to her and infiltrate in the way that they would with a girl, who does not know her role, position, nor has a foundation as a woman, basically asking to be abused. And in her mind, she doesn't see it that way, which is another sad state. And I'll explain perhaps in this video, or I might open this up as another segment as to why these women operate like that, or girls rather. I've already shared just a tad bit. It's because they don't have a foundation. There are levels of insecurity, inadequacies, lack of direction. So these men that wear their disguises that can't access the woman who has very strong boundaries and lays them in place, two things happen. They usually walk away, they bash them, they call them feminists. You know, that's a whole big term out there, which it exists, but they categorize women that take a stand for something, that have boundaries, that require respect, and a man that has self-love. There's a list of requirements that are healthy and should be available in order to have access to a woman, because in short, that's somebody that's seeking, that type of woman, she is seeking a healthy counterpart, a healthy relationship. A predator does not seek that. They don't understand that. So they get very offended, and basically, what I have seen and has been confirmed across the board, these predators are highly insecure men. They are broken. And let's not, in this situation, we're not going to have empathy for that, because some of them, if they are not highly disordered, that is sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, which is a high disordered mental illness. These individuals, these type of men that have this, lack empathy, lack compassion. They are manipulators. They lie, they fake empathy and compassion to get what they want. They don't have that feeling. They don't have that deep understanding. So my heart does not go out to someone like that. They do know what they're doing. They're aware of what they're doing. And it is not something that they can control. And it is not something where you say, oh, boo-hoo, it's so sad, because they can't control it. That's more reason to give them another opportunity. Would you do that to Ted Bundy? Would you do that to Charles Manson? Would you do it to any highly disordered? Because these individuals were highly disordered, and that's why they were able to physically take out another person's life. Now, highly disordered sociopath, narcissist, and psychopaths, not all of them go around taking people's lives as the other highly disordered individuals do. However, they do. There's two ways they go about it. They can lead to the crimes that have been documented and committed by the likes of Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, the highly disordered individuals. They could take that route, or the other route that these highly disordered individuals take is the being a con artist and manipulative of women, and using and abusing these women for companionship, sex, emotional connections, their network. You know, if they have access to a large network, that they're around a lot of wealthy people, things of that nature, and they will use that individual in order to gain access to that network to further advance their endeavors. Or if they are not an individual, a highly disordered individual who is not climbing the ladder of success, and you have a network just of people to hang with, and an open door for other individuals that they can increase their social network, either to hang out with, party, do drugs, additional companionship. They don their mask well, and they will use you for that. So the highly disordered individual can consist of your murderers, and I like to say that you have highly disordered individuals that don't all go out murdering people, but they literally will try to murder a person's soul. And that's where the emotional abuse comes in. The one thing that the highly disordered individual, sociopath, psychopath, and narcissist have in common is they all may not go out and commit crimes of murder. However, they all are guilty of being emotional abusers. and they have no empathy when they do that or compassion, so there is no control. So this is why I say there's no boo-hoo. You have to know the type of person that you're dealing with. There's no, when I use the term broken, broken is an awesome place to be if you are not highly disordered, you are aware, you take accountability, you have self-love, you are striving for more in your life. When you are in a state of brokenness, it's not a fun place to be, but it's also the best place to be, because that's where our greatest lessons are learned in life, like through our pain, through our trials. We when we're all happy all the time and things are going great for us, we're not learning anything. We're just taking in the moment. We're enjoying that. And that's all there is. Like, what else can you learn from being happy in those moments other than just being happy, right? So it's through our trials and tribulations, our brokenness, that we learn our greatest lessons. We grow. We are humbled by that. And if you are not a highly disordered individual, you are successful at doing so. Highly disordered individuals have no comprehension or understanding of that. Those who do want better for themselves and are aware without being highly disordered will also take that they'll pick up that cross, so to speak. They'll pick up they'll run that race, so to speak, when it comes to facing trials and tribulations, because they want better. They have self-love, and so they'll move forward. So there's so many facets to this, and I like to share these different facets so that you can become aware of what you're dealing with and what you're looking at, and it helps you become more aware of who you are, what you'll allow, and how to continue to move forward, and how to, if need be, eradicate toxic associations. So again, these men that do this, now they, on the opposite end, those that are not highly disordered, you have these men. Okay, so what do we say about them? They have some empathy, compassion. They're not highly disordered. So they actually do feel upset about what they do. First thing I'd like to share is tread very carefully with that. Be very careful and really study what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with, because highly disordered men that fall in the category of psychopath, narcissist, sociopath are very skilled at deceiving and wearing the mask that they are not as such. And they're just a man down on their luck, or just a man that's recovering from drugs and alcohol, a man who has mental illness or health issues such as, depression, anxiety, and just needs some assistance. So just really, I suggest everybody that whether you haven't encountered this type of individual, I have, and I would strongly suggest not waiting until you do encounter this. I want you to be prepared. I want you to look for the signs. So you can always go back to all my prior videos. I talk more in depth solely about what the characteristics of a highly disordered individual is, what they do. I have now new things to add to my case study, because I literally was in a situation living with one, and the things that I saw were just completely mind-blowing. It does take your mind and your awareness to a whole new level. And the best way I can describe it, and I've said it before, is you may think you know about a highly disordered individual and you may see the characteristics, but being around and living with that type of individual takes you to a whole new level of awareness. There's some funny posts that I put up about that, and other people share these things as well, and they understand, because it is that evil and dark. There are times that we have to take a step back and make some light of it, and laugh a bit, because it's that dark, so it will take your mind to a whole new level. And I would rather, it is my hope that you are listening to this topic, you are looking into it in further depth and researching what this looks like and what this means, so that you are better prepared to immediately exit from, the relationship, or even honoring a second date with this type of individual. They are very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Yeah, and like I said, a whole new level. So this is why I will definitely keep plugging this topic, and I break up my topics because it is a lot to take in. If I were to do, say, like a month of this, do a video a week or two, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't want to bombard everybody with that. So don't feel sorry for these men, because whether they're highly disordered and can't control it, or not highly disordered and can control it but are not making the choice to go and get help and fix themselves, either way, you don't wait and stick around for them to do that. You never fall in love with a man's potential. That's like buying or wanting to buy a house and telling, the real estate agent, I don't have the money now, but I just played the lottery tonight and I know for a fact I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win that money. And so can you just give me the house, because we need to move in like right now. And when my winnings come in, when my winnings come in, I'll give you the money for the house. I'll pay it all off. It's like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. And it should not work like that in your selection of a man. So if you are not where you need to be in your life and you have not grown to the next level of advancement, you are going to be more readily available, and you're going to accept, falling in love with a man's potential. It's like, well, I'm not really here yet myself, and I really didn't do that yet here. So it's whatever, nobody's perfect, and that's a whole big mistake. Taking things, I think one of the biggest issues that happen and why women fall in the most disastrous relationships, it's not necessarily just the empathetic part, which is a part of it. It's taking words out of context. And that is, nobody's perfect, I just got to show kindness. No, nobody's perfect, and kindness is definitely a component, and I firmly believe that above everything and all, love is the law. However, there are certain situations you have to be discriminating for your mental health well-being, and I again strongly push this and suggest this so that you are not falling into a toxic, disastrous relationship, and God forbid it's with a highly disordered person, because that's literally suicide. That's suicide. Again, a whole nother topic. So there are times where kindness does not apply in those type of situations, and you need to say, fuck you, I'm out. I will not tolerate this abuse. So stepping back, if you're not where you're supposed to be and you haven't evolved, this is where loving yourself and getting yourself right first and getting yourself in order first applies for those that get confused when they end up in a disastrous relationship and they hear all the time you need to love yourself. By the time you're told that, you are so confused when you hear that, and I've seen this in the women that I've spoken to, and I can literally connect the dots as to where they've lost sight of this. They're just confused. They're like, but I do love myself, and no, there is some point where you were not where you should have been. You did not work on the things that you needed to work on for your own benefit, your own self-improvement, your own growth. So you then get into a relationship by which you are falling in love with a man's potential. He's not where he should be either, but you allow that. You feel it's okay. You make allowances because you have allowed these shortcomings in yourself. Self-love implies that you do everything necessary to elevate yourself, grow yourself, be accountable to yourself first, treat yourself the way you should be treated, and then when you meet somebody who does not line up and does not treat you according to the love you give yourself, and love literally being universal isn't obvious. There is no, well, how do I love this person? And, oh, I can love this person this way, but when I'm with this other person, I can love them that way. Love is universal. Love is love, legitimately. And I like to use the hashtag love vibe, because that's what I'm about sending out regardless. And it's unconditional, yes, but love and unconditional love does not mean unconditional abuse. So there is no secret on how it's done. And so if you're dealing with a man that says, oh, well, you're just difficult to love, he has a difficult time loving himself. If you're dealing with a man that's like, well, over here, you know, I'm going to go back over here because she knows how to love me. She understands me. No, the girl is basically letting him get away with all sorts of bullshit. That's what that is. And so you're looking at this guy, you have fallen in love with his potential, and you're like, I love you. Like, I've even accepted you for where you're at. And, you know, and if you have anything that's in you that rises up and says, you're failing to do what you're supposed to be doing for yourself first and for me and the relationship, if you find yourself in that situation, and a toxic man will rebuttal with, well, over here I'm going to do this, and this person over here understands me. That is that is his response to saying, I refuse to take fucking accountability for what I do wrong, and I'm going over here because over here they don't make me recognize that. You follow? You are not a man's mother. You do not fall in love with a man's potential. Anything that you are tolerating in a man where he has not self-improved, he has no desire to self-improve, and things that he refuses to change, you are, yes, tolerating in yourself, and to hide behind the guise of, well, I'm not perfect either, and I'm not where I need to be yet. How about we try and say, when I get to where I'm supposed to be, then I will open the door to my counterpart. Then I will open the door for a relationship. That's if you so choose. There's many women out there that I've spoken to. They're done, and they're done happily. They're cool. They don't need to have sex. There's dildos. They don't need dudes for nothing. They're not going to waste their time, energy, body laying down with some man, you know, talking about they're empowered, you know, they're going to stay single for the rest of their life, but they can't run away from dick. You don't ever give yourself, your time, your body, your energy to anybody, and that is not being empowered. You are, in essence, using your energy, giving your energy. You are draining and depleting yourself, and that usually ends up to be a dead end, very hopeless, dead place, and you end up with a lot of issues as a result. A man who entertains women like that, who are either in a dysfunctional marriage and they're screwing with them, or who are women who, you know, act like, you know, in essence, they're not really connected to their femininity because they have been broken down throughout so many years in the improper relationships. They have an attitude where it's like, well, fuck men, I don't need them. I'm just going to use them for sex. I'm just going to use them for money. This is something that I have shared going back 3 years ago now in prior videos. Those type of women, I do feel sorry for them. It's coming from a place of brokenness, and they've completely given up on themselves first and foremost, and therefore it extends out to what a healthy relationship or a healthy man, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically would look like. They don't believe that exists anymore. They're bitter. They go into this pit of despair, and they believe that they're empowered just by fucking multiple men. And let's just be graphic and call it for what it is, because this happens. I have some women in my inbox that share stories of how they have left their partner because their partner has entertained women like this that have no regard, no respect. So it's like a free-for-all. And predators love women like that. And when I say love, it's not love, let's get married, let's be monogamous, I love you, I'm committed to you, let's have our healthy relationship. They love it, again, because it's easy access. So that would be a toxic woman, by the way. Yes, so toxic women do exist. A toxic woman that is not protecting her energy, is not operating in self-love, who confuses abuse for love, which I gave an example earlier on, one that says, I need a man who's going to tell me what to do. Like, wow. Like, wow, there's so many levels I can go with that. Not to be confused with, in a relationship, submitting to one another and respect. And there is a perverse side to what I just said, a perverse, unhealthy, abusive side when it comes to submitting to one another, your partner. The unhealthy, abusive side believes that one side should submit more to the other. Big fucking no. That is an imbalanced, toxic relationship that is also codependent. So one side should submit more to the other is inaccurate. Uh, the healthier side is that it's two people submitting to one another and respecting boundaries. So if you are with a man and it's right off the bat, he respects your time, he respects your space, he already comes to the door with no additional baggage. That is, he doesn't have exes in the picture, not to be confused once again with a man who may have been married and shares children with an ex, which obviously it's permissible. There has to be communication in terms of rearing the children and so on and so forth, right? This is talking about the men who are associating with they're single, no kids. They could, be single and then have kids, and then you meet them. Okay, let's say so you meet the man, or whether you're in a relationship with the man, and they just have like this unhealthy obsession with keeping in contact with certain exes and hanging out with certain friends that are unhealthy, and while it's this man's choice and decision, that's their life, like straight up, that's their life. You choosing to remain or entering in a relationship, if you know these things right off the bat that the individual is doing that should be a no-go and you don't move forward in that relationship. However, if you're entertaining certain exes and playing dirty and not respecting yourself, your space, your time, your energy, and have not evolved, and again say, well, I'm not in that spot either, he'll change eventually, I'll change, let's just see where it goes, let's free for all, then guess what? You're going to have a free-for-all, all right. You're going to have like complete discombobulation, no order or healthy aspects of your relationship, especially moving forward. So that should be something that should be cut off, and a lot of women aren't doing that. The women who have a fire and a strength in, they are generally the women that I am coming across all of you. I love you all. I love you. You are literally queens, literally queens. And I encourage research what queens represent and what they did and what they had to endure. Okay. And so that is why I use that energy, and I use that saying, and using that as a representation of what you truly are. They have the strength in them. Those are the women that have left the toxic relationships, and their voices are warning alarms, and they're growing and they're advancing and they're sharing their stories, and they're the women's that you basically can't run fucking game on. That's all there is to it. So the toxicity that comes out of little girls' mouths that end up putting them in situations with toxic men is something that I want you to think about. So again, asking for a man to control you and tell you what to do, and I need a man that's going to put me in my place. Like, really? Wow. I need a man that's going to put me in my place. That means you don't know your place. That also means you can't think for yourself. It means a whole host of other things. It is the perverse version and thinking of what a healthy relationship represents. And it also can be indicative of being in an unhealthy relationship with that type of unhealthy partner for too long of a period of time. The second thing is, I need to be tamed. I need to be tamed. You need to be what? Wow. That's another alarm. That's like another scent that your aura, your energy that you're putting out, that's saying, come on, toxic men. So yeah, no, you don't need to be tamed. Again, it's another example of not knowing your power, not knowing who you are. What do you mean you need to be tamed? You're an animal? And so, moving forward, this perverse pattern and this perverse thinking comes in where it's, well, I'm just wild. No man can tame me. No man, he's got a this, he's got a that. And that is the perverse example of what does not constitute being a woman who is empowered. An empowered woman knows, and when she lays out her list and her boundaries, she doesn't say, I need to be tamed. I need to be tamed and you need to da, 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 da. She makes it known through how she represents, how she presents, and none of it is shared or exemplified or comes in the form of instruction on how to do it. Regarding a missing component within herself. So you're wild, you have no peace, no balance. No peace, no balance, no foundation. You're not really sure what you want. You're not really sure what you need. You need someone to help you figure that out. Again, another unhealthy or way to perverse the word help. Help is a great thing. But this can be also, this type of thinking and these words can be placed in a very toxic mindset and put you in a very bad situation. You have to work on you. You have to work on you. You have to know what you want, what you're not going to tolerate, what is best for you. In addition to that, you should have a foundation, you should have a balance, and you should not be running around looking for a daddy. And you should not be looking around, looking for somebody to tame you, to control you, to tell you what to do. Yeah, I think you should have a vision, you should have a career, you should have goals, you should be striving to become a better version of yourself. And if you're so busy about all that, you're not going to be looking for a man to tame you or looking for a man to control you. So be careful what you ask for. Be careful what we ask for. That is a very big thing that needs to be looked upon, because what you ask for, you will get. And you don't want that. But if you ask for it, really believing that you do want it, you're going to get what you ask for, and you're not going to be happy. Okay? So that is the girls. A woman, the women out there, you know your worth, and I want to encourage you because these predators do exist, whether they're highly disordered or they're just complete assholes. Okay, so you got your assholes and you got your highly disordered. They're not assholes, they're highly disordered. They are psycho out of this realm. Like, that is a problem. So I want to encourage you to not, you women out there, don't give a fuck what a toxic man says or thinks. You go out on a date, and I know you all are out there experiencing this, and you know your place, you know your foundation, you know your boundaries, you know what you want and what you want your future to look like to the best of your ability. You are manifesting and you're working on those things, right? And you have to cut a guy off on a date and he gets salty, bitter, nasty. There's your answer right there. He does not respect your space. He does not respect your boundaries. He's highly insecure because he can't take rejection well. Now, remember, the highly disordered individual will act cool, calm, and collected because he knows that if he acts that way, he's not going to be able to infiltrate and manipulate and get back in a different way. He'll dip off low but he's always behind the backdrop because that's what psychos do, highly disordered people. If he wants access to you and you have something, so be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that. And that is also, too, it's like a hard thing, but this is the reality of the world that we live in, and there's so much information that's shedding light on this. It's so important because then you think, well, how do you decipher, how do you discern the difference between a literal psychopath coming for me or a man who's just persistent? He sees something that he wants and he's going after it. Your boundaries will never be disrespected. Your boundaries will never be crossed. And I suggest to really look into the people, places, and associations that the individual is surrounding themselves around. If you start to come around, even though you didn't have an attraction for the individual, there was something that you didn't like or wasn't sure of, and you even put it, maybe there were some things that you liked and you put the person to the test and you said, I'm not open to a relationship right now, and you want to test how they respond to that. I think that, the dates were great, but I'm not really interested right now, and you decide not to go on another date. How do they respond to that? What happens? Do they get an attitude? Do they flip out? I'll never forget, I went on a date. I knew right off the bat in the middle of when I had a conversation, the guy, was name dropping his roommate. Was running for a political office. He was name dropping politicians, which was of poor taste. In addition to that, telling me the personal details that were going on in his relationship, his roommate's relationship with another woman, and how she's a jerk. This other woman, she's a bitch, and he's having a conversation with me, calling this woman other vile names, which I found ironic because he wasn't even dating her. His roommate was dating her. And the bottom line is, the guy, he was the one on the date. His roommate wasn't. His roommate was in a relationship. He was the one on a date because I decided to go out on a date with him and see what he was about. So clearly he was also an insecure, highly jealous person. And also, it showed me that he had no loyalty to his roommate slash friend. In addition, I could have very well been the press or paparazzi, and he's name dropping politicians' names and discussing things of personal nature that was not even open or available to the public to make himself appear larger than life. But really, he was an actual asshole, and it was a complete turn off. And so in turn, I literally ended the date right in the middle. I don't have time for that. I literally said, in the middle of the date, this is not going to work. Have a good night. Oh, true colors. Oh, really? Really? It's like that? He's like freaking out. Freaking out. Like, only met him and dated, like, went on this little date, one date, sat there and could tolerate no more than an hour of hearing disloyalty, backbiting against his friend. So, as far as a relationship goes, I know that the individual would be one that would break confidence. He would not know how to keep things to himself of personal nature if they were shared. I know that he has no loyalty with his friends. He does not respect other people's relationships. Clearly, his roommate was in a healthy relationship, and I knew this without even having to meet the guy because he was so fiercely pea-green jealous and obsessive over his roommate's girl and how she's this and that. So that translates to me, she was probably a really hot, attractive girl, and he was just mad he couldn't get that or have the relationship because he's out on a date right now and he's fucking it up, right? So you watch their responses so you can put it to the test. And again, how can you decipher? That guy was a clear asshole. He went away. He got the message. How can you decipher if you're being stalked and targeted by a highly disordered individual when you tell them no and they seem cool, calm, and collected? And that's what a highly disordered psychopath would do, right? And they drop off to the backdrop. Or it's just an individual who is coming back around to check up, see if you're available because they're genuinely interested in you, right? And if you're testing it out and you have an interest, but you want to see how these men, if you decide to go into the dating arena, how they're going to respond to your boundaries, how they're going to respect your time and your space, right? Do they hop off and jump into other relationships, or are they truly interested in you? Do they truly want you? Because a man will go after what he wants. That's bottom line. Okay, understand the whores, because they're the men out there that are men whores, and we've heard the term, and they exist, and they're in all different categories, male, female. We get it, okay, but they will be out there screwing several different women while waiting for you to change your mind. You don't want that either. That's nasty, right? You don't want that. How do you know? How do you decipher? You work on yourself. You focus on you. You love yourself. You keep an eye out. You study, if you have an interest, who their associations are, who their friends are, what their network looks like. It's not just so much how they are in public and how they're treating other people in public. Okay? And you go on that baseline. Too many women thinking they're alone or loneliness. There's a difference between being lonely and alone. Okay? They're jumping way too fast into these toxic relationships based upon the fact that they just got to have somebody to cuddle. They don't want to be alone. They have to be in a relationship. And this is where the nightmare begins. Let's talk about another segment of women. They are the women, such as myself and you queens out there, and y'all know who you are. They encounter these toxic scenarios. They cut it. And they don't look back. And then that is the firm solution, because they know what they want. They have a foundation. They have their balance, and anything that disrupts that, game over. So I don't really have so much to say regarding those type of women, because you already are on the path of getting what you want, because you're not relationship obsessed. You're relationship obsessed when it comes to your own well-being, your own self, and your own advancement. Okay? So the women who are coming or have come out of the toxic relationships that are freaking out, they don't know what to do, you need to change your focus. You have to shift your focus. If your focus is constantly on that, that means you're going to keep going downward spiral. If your focus is actually on other things and bettering yourself and recognizing that you were in something toxic, you really don't have any time or energy to focus on that toxic partner. And if you are continuing to focus on that person, it's time for inner reflection and to find out what it is you're not doing or have not discovered that you need to do to better yourself and to better your life. It's a very simple fix. There's absolutely no time or energy to focus on it. I smile because I couldn't even waste a second on that. Waste a second. There's too many beautiful opportunities and beautiful things that you could be doing and creating than rather wasting your time focusing on a loser. Whatever pain and whatever, issues that came out of that is understandable. There's sympathy for that. There's empathy for that. But you move through that process. Like I said, through the pains and the trials, there are lessons. So let's step back, because I touched on what women, as opposed to girls, what women who are walking in self-love go on to receiving, and that is fulfillment, and that is getting what they want. The bigger issue are the girls who are using terms that are literally, they're speaking out, words are seeds, they are speaking out exactly what they're going to get and what they're manifesting. Running around out there shouting, I want a man to tame me. I need a man to control me, who can tell me what to do, like that's some hot commodity. Know what you need to do for yourself first and foremost. Have your boundaries, have your foundation. You're literally asking for abuse. You're literally asking to be controlled. Stop confusing in a relationship what it means to submitting to one another with one has to submit more to the other. It does not work like that. That is actually imbalanced, as I shared earlier. It's not submitting. You submit more to me, then I submit more to you. That is not a team. That is not a healthy relationship. And for the women that are stuck in these cycles, that is an overpowering partner, that is an abusive partner, and you are the codependent partner if you continue to remain and you continue to allow it. If you've broken up 10, 20 times within that period of whatever union you may be in, that is also indicative of an unhealthy relationship. It's up to you to continue to repeat that cycle and to keep going on in that cycle. But when I get messages in my inbox, I went back, I gave him another chance, and he slammed me down again. What can I do? What can I do? It is a choice that you're making. So the women that I am working with and will continue to work with are the ones that are aware of this pattern. They want it broken. And the ones that become aware of the pattern and are choosing to break it. I can't contract with you and I don't work with you if you go back and the contract is literally off the table. The moment you tell me I'm going to go back and I'm going to give it another go, show's over. And then you're on your own. The moment you remain focused and you get through that process, and it is a process, and it is going to be a healing process. And the girls, queens on the page that have gone through this and are going through this recognize it for what it is. So understand the difference between toxicity and confusing toxicity and this toxic relationship as, oh, it's love, and oh, well, he just has this problem here and there, and it's okay, and I'm just going to, you cannot minimize anything that you're minimizing in a partner that is completely toxic, that he refuses to change, hasn't worked on, and it's repetitive, going on 4, 5, 10 years later. It is because there's a deficiency that's going on within yourself. Whatever you haven't worked on, you then take the turn and say, well, I'm not perfect either. This is something, that they have to work on. I have the things that I have to work on. And I think one of the biggest fails is the fact that you're not people are not working on what they need to work on before they get into a relationship. This is not as complex, or rather, it's not even complex. We're not even talking about, well, he likes milk and I don't. I like chocolate milk and he likes Gatorade. Well, we're not talking about these like simple incompatibilities. He likes to watch golf and I'm not really into it. These are the actual little discrepancies you want to have, not some major hardcore discrepancies that you're allowing. Well, he just smokes pot sometimes. He just snorts coke sometimes. He hits the bottle other times and then he just stops again. I used to do it too. Sometimes I mess up. So it's okay. So you're falling in love with a man's potential again. And I shared that's like saying you're going to tell a realtor you see a beautiful home that you want to purchase. And I have to go over this because I want this embedded. And you tell them you bought a lottery ticket and you're going to be the lucky winner. We need to move in. We have some things. We have to get into this house tonight. If you could just let us in tonight, when we hit the lottery, I know I got the winning numbers. We'll pay you off. We'll pay off the entire house. It doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that in a relationship. There's no what ifs and falling in love with potential. The realtor's not going to be like, oh yeah, sure, here. And then guess what? You don't win the lottery ticket. You don't win. You don't have the money to purchase the home. So then what? So you fall in love with a man's potential. Well, he's going to be this one day, and he says he's going to change this one day, and then 5 years later, he's not doing that. You put yourself in your own hole and your own demise, and it's my hope and it's my encouragement that you wake up to that. And in all actuality, if you're accepting any of that, that means you're not working on you. Because if you are literally working on yourself and what you want for yourself and your future and your own betterment, your self-love and elevating, you don't have time to do that. You don't have time to change his diapers. If you're choosing to do that, that is your choice. I cannot work with you. So it's some food for thought. It's something to really think about. It's something to consider. And it's literally as simple as self-love. Self-love. That's all there is to it. You love yourself enough. You're not going to tolerate any less than that. Again, I say it with a smile and I laugh because it's a beautiful, wonderful place to be. There's zero stress, zero bullshit. You don't need it. There's enough problems and there's enough stress in life in and of itself. Two people should be coming together as a team, not coming together in opposition, constant strife and drama, stress. Like, what are you signing up for? So again, you girls out there, stop confusing love for abuse, abuse for love. Oh, I want him to tell me what to do. I want him to control me. I need him to tame me. Or thinking that it's permissible and it's healthy when one person is being more subjective and overriding the other. And it's okay, well, I have to listen to my partner. I have to respect my partner's wishes. Yeah, absolutely. Within healthy guidelines, within healthy boundaries. Like, put the bottle down, bro. Stop doing the drugs. Stop hanging out with the boys. You got family, you got things to attend to, right? There are so many components. What is it that you are actually settling for? And what exactly are you saying are healthy guidelines and boundaries that are actually perverse? It's wrong thinking. So when I get messages in my inbox and you hit me with these messages that he lied again, he cheated again, he went back to drugs, oh my God, he got arrested, like, found out he's been doing all this drinking and drugging for years at a clip, and I didn't even know. And I don't know how some of you women can be in relationships that long and not even know that he's hitting drugs that hard. It's like it's obvious at some point. Okay, so being codependent and ignoring and minimizing and turning, an eye opens up the door to you eroding your own mental health, your emotional health, your well-being. You can end up physically sick as a result of that. Never mind whatever he can bring home to you. Okay, never mind the financial ramifications that come as a result of that, because the money is not coming in as it should. And then there's women that are with the men that have some money, so yeah, the money's coming in as it should, but that's not going to prevent your emotional well-being from deteriorating. That's something that money can't fix. Your emotional health is priceless, as well as your health. So remember that. It's not hot, cool, sexy to be out there shouting, I want a man to control me. I need a man to tame me. Basically, what you're doing, like I said, you're blaring the warning sirens that you are easy access to a predator to use, abuse, manipulate, not commit 1 minute, yeah, lie to you that they're committing and not committing the next. You are literally in a completely different arena. This is why these type of predators have strong objection and hatred towards women who speak this truth and have boundaries outlined, because they can't get in. They don't have access. They get pissed off about that. A lot of people, let's just face it, they don't like anybody making them feel accountable or reminding them of what they need to correct. And most times you don't even have to open your mouth. If you have healthy boundaries and guidelines and you say that this is what you stand for, and they're aware of that, that's an automatic threat. And it only threatens a person who has no interest or desire to evolve, and they want to continue living their life the way they're living it. You don't have time to cater to that. You don't have time to be concerned with that. That's not your problem. That's their problem. You just are now aware that that's toxicity, and that is not somebody that you want to have in your life. If you choose to make an opposite decision and allow that person into your life, there are consequences to that. At that point, I can't help you with that. And there's nothing more that I can say other than what I am saying. So it is my hope that you don't let it get to that point. So just remember that. And so if you are going on these dates, I had some people ask me, they go on these dates and they deal with attitude, where these particular men are getting attitude, or they're nasty because the woman, the date that you're going on there, you're not compromising, you're not catering to you're not catering to their ideas of like, oh yeah, I think threesomes are okay. Oh, I think people should have multiple partners. Oh yeah, I do drugs sometimes, and I hang out, but it's in moderation, because after all, I'm like a high powered attorney and I got to know when to play and when not to play. Or, they may not even be a high powered attorney. They're like, oh, I work hard on my job, so every now and then I just want to kick back and I do this and that. Remember, some of these guys aren't going to be forthcoming, but these things that they minimize, it's a free for all. It's, there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries to that. Okay? There's no boundaries to that. So you don't have to accept it. Please, you girls out there that are entertaining men who are just like, it's like I make it clear from the get-go, and I can only really emphasize this by just sharing my experiences, because I can just boom lay that out for you. I encountered an individual who thought that it was cool to have friends with benefits, thought it was cool to do drugs and alcohol, and just live like recklessly, right? And so that's a no-go for me. Then I've encountered individuals that have had that past, and they turn around and they present themselves as something completely different, right? Because people can change, right, when they put the work and the effort in, and that's what you want. So watch out, because I had an individual where it wasn't about falling in love with their potential. They presented as though they had the potential already, that they had already done the work that they were supposed to do. So I want you to be very, very watchful for this. And how I knew it was a lie. And how I started to uncover it was a lie was because they were still keeping in touch with certain connects that they did drugs with. And they were, and it's more than like, oh, well, I could still talk to these people and not really do it. It's bullshit. If you are not removing toxic people, places, and things, you are for sure entertaining those things. And as an individual, myself, who did intake for people at a nonprofit that are coming out of homelessness, drugs, and any counselor alive will tell you, you were a drug user at some point in time. You need to get around or other people that are healthy minded and not doing those things, and stay away from those same circles. There are some cases where we have told certain clients in the place that I volunteered in that the festering, the drug epidemic in this one particular environment was just like so high, and it was just, there are times you were told you have to move out of counties. You will have counselors even tell you that in order to clean up your habit, to get away from, as far away from those friends and associations. So, be watchful too, because I've had an individual who presented that they had already crossed the finish line, and they weren't. They were keeping in contact with these individuals, keeping in contact with FWBs, things of that nature. And when they got called out, also being a highly disordered individual, oh, they didn't like that. But I don't give a fuck. So that's how I roll. I don't give a fuck. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff that came along with that. Do not tolerate. If you decide to tolerate it, this is something within yourself. And then if you end up in a mess, you learn from it, right? Always lessons in our trials and pain. I would hope that it doesn't get to that point for anybody. Stop tolerating these men that have friends with benefits. Stop tolerating these men that are sleeping around with multiple women, that have an inability to commit, that are still acting like children well past the age of 25. Their frontal lobe should be mature at the age of 25. That's another biggie. If they're if they're still got that mentality going, okay, they're not going to, there's no help for them. There's absolutely zero help for them, and it's just not going to happen. Understand, there are healthy individuals out there, men and women. You don't have to be entertaining these type of men and all these things that you're allowing. And I had, true story, I will stress this out, as hardcore and as uncomfortable as this truth is, hell fucking yes, because I care too much to not share this, and to not, because there's, everybody's gonna, let me tell you something, people don't go to counselors and other individuals to be lied to. Does it happen? Do some people say things? Do they not give the advice they're supposed to be giving? Yeah, that happens in this world. People want the truth so they can digest it and really figure out what they need to do, or to get a confirmation of what they already know they should be doing. Okay? I care too much to see anybody in these type of situations. And again, you have free will to choose, but I'm telling you, it is not going to serve in the end if you are messing around with these broke men. It's not going to happen. It's going to be very catastrophic, and you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to delay opportunities and blessings because you're entertaining shit, basically, in a nutshell. Okay, so I get a message from a girl who went back and trusted a man who was a serial cheater, obsession with pornography, was screwing around with multiple women, and she actually admitted that she was in a time in her life where she was okay with it. And what I mean by okay is because this whole thing with multiple partners is, oh, well, it's okay to have multiple partners, we have an open relationship nonsense. She didn't like the idea of it. She told me in the beginning she didn't like the idea of it, and he convinced her. And it's not even a matter of convincing at this point, and she recognized when she looked back it was really manipulation and abuse. She was in the relationship long term, and she really lost her identity and herself in the process, and as a result of what ended up happening, she started changing her views and her moral standing to accommodate his. That's not love, honeys. That's not love, sweethearts. That's not submitting. Okay? That's you losing your identity. And that's catastrophic. So long story short, she allowed what she never wanted to have happen before. She had boundaries down. but she just couldn't let him go. I don't know. Maybe she loved his eyes, his nose. I don't like you girls out there. You have some obsession with these guys, and it's like there's something that you're being drawn to. And on top of that, it's because of a void within yourself. Literally, that's what it is. Like, you're not fulfilling yourself first and loving yourself to know there's bigger and better out there, sweethearts. You don't have to deal with these losers, and you shouldn't be doing it. So she allows things, she drops her boundaries, she drops her guard, and unfortunately, I love her. I love you if you're watching, and there's hope for her. Her and I talk, so I'm not going to get into detail about our conversations because she's in the process of being built up. And she shared, actually, she came on one of the comments and came out and shared with everybody that this happened to her because I brought this topic up in a post. And I commended her for even being, brave enough and coming forward and saying that. But I know that drove the point home to a lot of girls. And I remember that day there was like a few people that like left the page, and I was like, wow. I was like, toodaloo. I was like, that's sad, when they saw what she wrote and how she felt, and they bounced. It was mainly because they knew that they were in that situation and they didn't want to face it because it wasn't going to happen to them, right? It's the biggest lie you can tell yourself. So the poor girl ends up, the guy brings her a sexually transmitted disease. And she's no longer in that relationship. No longer in that relationship. So his filth and his way of living, and yeah, she had a choice. She gets it now. So what's the message in this story? Stop playing with fucking pigs. Have some self-respect, have some love for yourself, get some boundaries for yourself. And like I always say, you want to shake your ass, be as sexy as you want to be with a monogamous partner who's got those moral standings, who knows what it's like to have boundaries and respects himself and his time and his body, and is not going to just be fucking around with anything and everyone, And what I mean by that is, period. Like, they're not out there chasing women. They're chasing integrity. They're chasing truth. They're chasing their self-respect. They're getting their physical and mental state in check. They're keeping it that way. If they're not there in that place and they got work to do, great, hallelujah, get to work. You don't need to be falling in love with their potential waiting for them to do it. The poor girl looks back now and says that she wishes that she had never got involved with him to start with. And some of these girls feel like they're stuck. And I've counseled some, I've talked with some of you, and I hate to use the word counsel, because you guys are like the ones that I'm talking to, you're like friends to me, you're sisters to me, you're queens, so let's not even go there. I think that sticks in my head because sometimes I get these messages like, hey, can you counsel me on something or advise on something? And it's like, no, like, I can share my story, I can share my truth with you, and I can help build you, and we can work together, and we can get through this together as long as you drop the loser. Because if you're going to have a relationship with me, I'm a monogamous person. Get rid of them, right? And we're going to go forward. But one of the other messages I got was a girl saying how, like, she wished she had done it sooner, and what I see is, out of these messages, it's these women, and I call them women now, they've evolved, obviously. It had to get bad for them to wake up. And I don't want to see that happen. So if you're entertaining a guy, you're having threesomes, you're screwing around, he's doing drugs, you think he's really being committed to you, but you're turning a blind eye to the signs and the blaring red flags that he's still screwing around. He's got drugs, he's got alcohol, he's got issues, he's got mommy issues. It's funny, like, because the guys like to go running around out there like, oh, daddy issues, and the predators, going after women like that. I'm on the scene. I'm on the scene now. And that's another reason why I get my little haters. It's mostly men behind the computer screens taking a kick to my ego. Don't watch me. Because you're either, like I said, you're going to fuck up and raise your IQ, or you're going to wake up and start becoming, evolve from boy to man, So I am only concerned with you ladies out there, because the moment you learn to say no, the more women that say no to this bullshit, the less predators have to prey on. That's it. If 5 women a day, that's just 5 less women per day, 35 a week, okay, and up and up and up, that say no to that toxic bullshit, that get rid of that loser, that don't entertain losers, that are working on themselves, that is immense. That's enough right there. 35 women a week to just say no. That's 35 predators that are shit out of luck. That's the way I look at those numbers. Is there always going to be abuse? Are there things that are going to happen? Absolutely. However, I think that we're definitely in a season where women are becoming aware, they're taking more of a stand, and they're recognizing that, yes, no, they don't need the man, they don't need the bullshit, they don't need to compromise their morals, they don't need to be having, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to do another video another time. There are 1,001 ways to be sexy and appealing behind closed motherfucking doors with one partner and not entertaining a little boy who thinks that sexy is obsessively watching pornography, having pornography addictions, having multiple partners. Well, I get this one from this one and I get that one from that one. And it's like, bro, you have no identity. No identity. You don't know who you are. But it must be okay because this one over here is accepting it and that one going after these predators, going after the broken women. So you broken women, stop accepting these type of men that are fucking losers, like straight up losers, because you are doing damage not only to yourself, you're doing damage abroad, and you're sending out the wrong message about women because you're putting in these losers' minds, these guys that do this, that this is normal and this is okay. Every time you lay down for a loser, every time you think it's okay that he's screwing several other women on the side, or you turn a blind eye, you're like feeding the predator. You're feeding the monster. And he's thinking in his head, you're reinforcing that his negative behavior is okay. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, the highly disordered, you got the predators that are just, they hate women. That prey on them. They hate them. They hate themselves first and foremost. That's where that comes from. They have hatred of themselves. So it's like, yeah, that's right. They're subjective to me. What idiots. They have no clue. They have no clue. Like, so you think you're a down chick and you're cool with anything when you're really anything but. And that guy is like looking at you like you're a sucker. He's not, he may not tell you straight to your face, but best believe as time goes on, he's going to let you know. And how? By the way he treats you. You catch him lying, you catch him cheating, he's screaming at you, he's not committing with you, he's not investing in you. I've seen this happen in other people's lives, and, you know, unfortunately, you know, I have watched a girl like Tina knows about this story. Tina Bean. You guys will get familiar with Tina Bean. But it's really sad. Like, the guy got into a relationship and literally just dropped the side chick and was investing 10 times over with the girl. And the side chick was just clinging. Like, anytime anything came up, like, she was believing that the relationship was over when it wasn't over. He was trying to like not hurt her feelings, but he wasn't really attracted to her, and that was a given, and it was obvious because he never went public for years with the individual and was using her on the side and kicking her out of his home and yelling and screaming at her and just like, and a whole bunch of other things, like sharing with me her personal business and her issues and how certain friends that she associates with call her annoying and telling me this. And that's it. I was that woman that was in a relationship with a guy who dropped a side chick like that, right? And there you have it, which his ass in the end got dropped when I started to see how he operates. And I felt bad for that girl. I felt bad. It's like, you don't, my motto, honestly, like with all of this, you don't fuck with me, you don't fuck with other women. Period. And if a woman is choosing, like I got out of that relationship, I ended up warning that girl, Whatever she does now today with that information, those are her consequences. But I don't play that. Anybody who knows me can testify to that. Those who are becoming or getting ready to know me, you will testify to that. I run a tight ship. I don't like any woman getting oppressed and any type of situation where a man tries to rob her voice, because I have an extreme aversion to toxic men. And why is the aversion so extreme? Because if you want to take it a step further, men are supposed to lead. They're supposed to lead in their homes. They're supposed to lead in their countries. We would have a lot better families, better family structure. And there are men that I know of that do this. They lead their homes, they're leading outside their homes, and it's like highly commendable, because you are the ones that make the world go round. You make the world a better place. You're respecting women. So I recognize them. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about what the issue is and help provide the solution and discuss and share realities for those that think living in a environment that is below what they are worth, thinking that that's okay and that's normal, or looking for a way out. I'm sharing the hard, cold truth so you can sit and digest this information and use it down the road. You may not use it now, but these are seeds. Words are seeds. So it's going to take root at some point, especially when you've had enough of dealing with mediocrity and dealing with a loser. And straight out, that's what we're going to call them. So I have an extreme aversion to men who cannot lead in their household, because I see the damage that it does to the women, to the children, and even if they don't have children, what it does to the woman. A man abuses. A man who does that is abusing his authority as a man. He is using his powers, if you will, for evil instead of good. That is why I love empowered women. Okay, so you're empowered women that are using their empowerment for good and for better and changing the world, changing the structure of their family, their life, their future, and saying no to bullshit and toxicity, right? So do men have the ability to lead? Absolutely. But I think too, my secondary aversion is just the fact that it's laziness. I abhor laziness, because hate's a wrong word. I abhor it. It's my prerogative to get up 4 or 5 a.m. every morning, and it's just something that I do. I don't expect everybody else to do it. I know there's people out there that do it, and I know people, and I have a structure that I set for myself in a routine every day. And I believe you have to work your ass off to get anything that is given to you. Absolutely. And I think there's a time for blessings and a seasons of blessings where you get rewarded, because we all reap what we sow. So things that come in the form of blessing is indicative and a result as doing a prior work. Like we reap what we sow. So I think it's very lazy, and I think it's foolishness. And sorry, that's just not a turn on. So if you are with a man, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, stop the complaints. Do something about it. Change your situation. Just going to spit the cold hard truth with that one. For those that are saying it's hard, I understand where it can be hard, and then there's an opposite end of the spectrum where you're making it hard. You're refusing to make the decision to leave because you're minimizing the behavior. And this is apart from Stockholm Syndrome. There are the girls out there that I'm speaking with that haven't even touched the realm of Stockholm Syndrome. They're fully aware of what's going on. They're just minimizing it and ignoring it. Again, you have free will to choose. But I'm hoping, and it's my prayer, it's about being faithful, having faith, being fierce, being focused in what you want in your endeavors, right? And being finished. And as I shared before, finished with the toxicity, finished with the bullshit, finished with the drama, the compromising, none of that stuff. None of that. Get rid of it all. Get rid of the loser. Facts. Don't fall in love with a man's potential if he's not where he should be. You don't wait for him. You don't school him. You're not his mommy. You're not his teacher. there's only so many opportunities and chances that you can give somebody before it becomes a freaking habit. It's like a habit. Okay, so please, I love you all. God bless, no stress. And we're going to touch a lot more on this. I'm going to keep going at it until it sinks into heads out there. Okay? Fix that crown.